Hello, and thank you for joining us for the board meeting tonight. Just a few housekeeping items before we get started. When you joined, you'd heard as an audience member that you are in listen-only mode. You cannot unmute yourself. However, I am able to unmute you to speak for public comment. So if you'd like to speak for public comment, please use the raise your hand function to indicate to me that you would like to speak, and I will unmute you to do so. Please know your webcam will still remain off, so your comment will be audio only. And now I'll turn things over to President Coyne to begin the meeting.
Thank you. I get to hit my gavel today. I am calling to order the regular meeting of the Park Ridge Park District Board of Park Commissioners. Today is Thursday, April 1st, 2021, and it is 7:01 p.m. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Grau?
Here.
Commissioner Harrington? Commissioner LeDuc?
Here.
Commissioner Leach? Commissioner O'Donnell? Commissioner Tunnell?
Here.
Commissioner Coyne?
Here. Would anyone like to amend, add, or delete an item to the current agenda? Hearing none. Is there any member of the public who would like to comment on any non-agenda item?
No one is raising their hand.
In that case, we will turn the floor over to Executive Director Mountcastle for general updates and whatnot.
Thank you, President Coyne. I only have a few items. We are working through, we got word yesterday about a potential opportunity for a community projects funding through Jan Schakowsky's office, Congresswoman, excuse me. And it's a very extensive funding bill. It's taking place of the past, so reformatted and more specific of the past earmarked funding. And then they're giving funding to each area, each Congress person's area. There's not much in it that I see for us. There could be a couple places that they have for under the defense fund for IT items for security. And we happen to be looking at in next year's budget, revamping our whole security camera system throughout the parks. So we're going to look at that. It's a very quick turnaround. It's April 9th. The other funding is more, it's roads and sewers and, more infrastructure things throughout cities, military funding. But there's a couple niches that we could look at for preschool and beyond the bell, potentially for IT equipment. So looking at that, the American Recovery Act, as we talked about last time, does not call out special districts, which is for funding, which is what we are considered. I would like to reach out to the city if there is no objections by the board. We talked about it last time, and Commissioner Harrington said that she had heard, or I don't know if she had had a conversation with one of the aldermen or the mayor. I don't know if everyone remembers that there could be, that's what they directed us to do, is to talk to our cities and the state for funding. So if the board is okay with that, I'd like to reach out to the city manager and just talk to him about any potential funding for the park district for that. Is there any objection to that from the board? I wouldn't think so. Okay, I just want to let you know I'm doing that, and I'll look to Jennifer if there's any kind of intergovernmental, discussions that go on with that. In the American Recovery Act, there's also a lot of different things we're hearing from our attorneys and IEPD that are affecting us. COBRA, voluntary paid leave, how it affects FFCRA, tax credits, special district funding I talked about. So we're getting updates on, as the attorneys are reading through that act, on what applies to us. So we're keeping up with that and going to workshops on that. And our registration, from what I hear, is going well. We'll hear more about that in Superintendent Armour's report at the next meeting, but definitely people are signing up for programs, and it's great to see our football affiliate practicing out in the park. So it's good to see people back, coming back into the programs and facilities. The only other thing, the bridge phase that I talked about last time, you may have read about it, that it sounds like we're not moving into that anytime soon. So we are still in phase 4. We're continuing to plan for phase 4, but we will, as always, adjust once we hear differently. If we move phase to the bridge phase or fully open, of course, we'll adjust facilities and programming capacities as we are able. So I'm happy to answer any questions about those items or anything else that anybody may have.
Any questions from the commissioners? Hearing none. Thank you, Executive Director Mountcastle. And we're going to move on to item 6 on the agenda, buildings and grounds. In the absence of Commissioner O'Donnell, I will be running this portion of the meeting. And I think because we discussed all of these in a previous meeting, we'll just go through the motions. And then if Jennifer wants to comment, we'll do that after the motion is seconded, and then we can get a briefing on it. So starting with the approval of Main Park Playground Planning and Design Services Agreement with Upland Design. I move to approve an agreement not to exceed $74,791 with Upland Design for design, engineering, bid documentation, permitting, and construction management assistance for the redevelopment of the Main Park Leisure Center Playground, and to authorize the Executive Director to execute and deliver such agreement. This action will be formally ratified in an actual board meeting with physical presence at a later date.
Second.
Jennifer?
I don't
I
see.
have, go ahead, Gail.
Okay.
If there's any questions.
If there's any questions
Yeah,
for
other
about
than
the
that.
project or anything like that.
No.
Yep. I don't hear any questions, so we'll call roll.
Commissioner Grau,
Yes.
Commissioner Harrington, Commissioner Leduc,
Yes.
Commissioner Leach, Commissioner O'Donnell, Commissioner Tunnell,
Yes.
Commissioner Coyne.
Aye. Well, I get to hit this again. Motion carried. Item B is approval of membership with the National Cooperative Purchasing Alliance Group. And I move to approve the district's membership as an end user in the National Cooperative Purchasing Alliance Group for the purchase and installation of the Centennial Fitness Center HVAC equipment. This action will be formally ratified in an actual board meeting with physical presence at a later date. Second. Is there any discussion on this item? Okay, hearing none, then we'll call the roll again.
Commissioner Harrington, Commissioner Leduc,
Yes.
Commissioner Leach, Commissioner O'Donnell, Commissioner Tunnell,
Yes.
Commissioner Grau,
Yes.
Commissioner Coyne.
Aye. Motion carried. I'm going gavel crazy today. Next item is an approval of an agreement with Midwest Mechanical for the Centennial Fitness Center rooftop units replacement. I move to approve an agreement not to exceed $73,369 with Midwest Mechanical through utilization of the National Cooperative Purchasing Alliance for the removal, purchase, and permitting and installation of 3 rooftop units at the Centennial Fitness Center, and to authorize the Executive Director to execute and deliver such an agreement. This action will be formally ratified in an actual board meeting with physical presence at a later date.
Second.
And any discussion on this item? Hearing none, call the roll.
Commissioner Leduc,
Yes.
Commissioner Leach, Commissioner O'Donnell, Commissioner Tunnell,
Yes.
Commissioner Grau,
Yes.
Commissioner Harrington, Commissioner Coyne.
Aye. Motion carried. Item 7, personnel. I'm going to turn the floor over to Executive Mountcastle for Executive Director Mountcastle for a presentation on the 2020 goals, et cetera.
Thank you very much. I have included a written report along with the strategic plan in the board packet, and that starts on page 1. I guess. Oh, it's one of my reports. So I'd just like to start out, the board has had this information, but I thought it was important to go through, as I typically do, to recap the year and to look at where we've been and review some of the highlights in this report. So certainly not going to read everything in the report. And so I'll start out and just say that, I just want to thank the board and all the staff of the district for, working at such a great team this year and getting us through, what was so unexpectedly, to put it mildly, of course, right? 2020 handed us. The Park District continued to be an essential service to the residents. In the past year, we truly saw how our parks and outdoor spaces were crucial and a respite in our residents' new normal with the stay-at-home orders. When we couldn't be in the facility, staff took the programming outdoors. When the Restore Illinois guidelines allowed, we brought the patrons the maximum allowable activities, as I think you'll see throughout this report. I'm also pleased to share with you at the end of the report a short video that we put together that will highlight some of the programs. So the first thing I wanted to point to is on the first page. It's number 1, section 1. Of course, the finances. When the pandemic hit, it was a very scary time for all of us, of course, our families, businesses. In terms of the Park District, it really was frightening in terms of what this could mean. I'm pleased to say that we ended up, I never usually say I'm pleased with a negative, with a net loss, but our net loss was minimal compared to our scenarios, our projection scenarios that we had put together for the pandemic operation. So we are projecting a net loss of $131,330 in the operating fund. Of course, this is pending the completion of the audit. This was a decrease of operations, for 8.5 months. Our COVID projections were anywhere from $4.7 million loss with the stress case and a $3.5 million with the moderate case. So with all said and done, I think that we've weathered the storm and we're moving in the right direction. Number 2 talks about the strategic plan. I'm going to point out that is also attached. I'm going to point out a few items when we get to that portion of the report. I will say that if you read through, there's certainly several things that were challenged to complete in terms of the strategies with the shutdown. However, we made progress in many areas. In terms of number 3, improved customer service, there was definitely an impact that we saw due to, the service level and what we were able to do in terms of people being satisfied. It was encouraging to see, though, that the eagerness of the staff to assist customers received a higher ranking from 2019. The knowledge of staff, overall satisfaction, and likeliness to recommend park districts to others had a slight decline. And while these categories were trending slightly lower, the extenuating circumstances, including the constant change to the services, staff certainly weren't often aware of until the very last minute. And the frustration of the closures due to the guidelines outside of our control surely frustrated many customers, as it did the staff. So I'm anxious to see how we can recover from that, with many other things next year. You go down to section 2, and please stop me if there's anything that I'm talking about in any of these sections that you want me to explain further. You'll see we went down to 651 employees total in 2020. Of course, that was fluctuating throughout the year. our typical average is in the 900. If you look at the other years, it's 883, 917, 947, 925. Without question, I will tell you that the decrease in the numbers of employees due to the loss of business has been the most difficult part of managing through a pandemic. These are not just numbers on a page. These are over 600 people that were furloughed during the past year at certain times and include dedicated staff members that, due to no fault of their own, weren't able to do their jobs with the decrease in allowable activities and capacities. I'm happy to say that we've brought back over 200 people that have been furloughed, 200 staff, and I'm sure we'll see those numbers increase with the heavy summer programming. In the next bullet point, and I'm not going to read through all of them, but it's really hard to believe that I could fit that all in one paragraph, but that is a summary of the things that the staff had to pivot and react to due to COVID-19. It was all aspects of our operations, including, closing the district by the order of the governor, planning how to shut down, reopening, all of the employment statuses to furloughs versus layoffs, separations, and relating all of that to the laws that we were being given fast and furious. We basically created an entire new business model during the past year. The financial impact project scenarios were a key in keeping us all on track and, seeing where we needed to shift and when we needed to shift. So it was a miraculous effort by the staff at the district and also the board. Going on to the next bullet point, this is where some of the depressing, tough numbers come in. The loss of revenue was significant. The decrease in fees and admissions for rec revenue, as you can see here, was a $3.9 million. It was a 57% decline. It was a $5.2 million loss in fees and admissions compared to $9.1 million in 2019. However, the good news is we offset that by a 36% reduction in operating fund expenses compared to 2020 budget of $5.6 million. So the decrease was a $4.1 million decrease in expenses, with staff across all departments working toward that goal. During all of that, our finance staff got the 38th Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting, so it was great. In terms of the Oakton Master Plan, just a refresher for the board's information, to fresh all of our memories. We were about 1/3 of the way through our community group meetings and open houses that were going very well. After that, we were going to send out a survey, and we had one last meeting with our task force after they received all the data. Then it was going to come back to the board to decide on a referendum, if the project would go to a referendum. I'm sorry for those of you that got on the board when this was being discussed and won't be able to see it through as a board member. But we decided to pause the project, all of us, including the commissioners, during the pandemic, and we'll be discussing with the board late this spring, summer, and how they would like to move forward with the process. So that seems like a long time ago. We were talking about that. In the next section, we talk about, all of the conversions of our electronic systems. And I think that it's really important to point out how we were able to pivot very quickly because of the work that we've done throughout these years, creating these systems and a back end with all of our computer software and hardware. The brochures going to digital, all converted to digital. And some of these things, I say positive because some of these things will stay and will be cost savings for the district, that we've realized that, some efficiencies through this. And that is one of them. The platform for virtual programs had to be set up. A big one, the accounting staff, the finance staff, reworked accounts payable and receivable processes into entirely electronic operations where there was so much paper before. So this is not only a good thing for the environment, it's also good for efficiency. And of course, we conducted public virtual meetings for a lot of things, Beyond the Bell, preschool, our board meetings, all of the meetings that we held with staff. A lot of that will stay, at least for the near future. That we had staff traveling from building to building for a lot of meetings, and now we will keep them with this platform that we have. That will save a lot of time, and it'll be more efficient for the staff. The only other thing under coaching, oh, I'm down to coaching. Okay. So under coaching, I just want to say I can't say enough about the employees of the district. I know I repeat this continuously. I can't overstate the benefit of having an experienced leadership team during this past year. As I said, the team recreated an entire business and budget several times during 2020. I pointed out some of the shifting in priorities and decision making below. We are a 7-day-a-week operation. Everybody realizes that, but the collaborating and decision making that occurred when guidelines came out at the end of the day, mostly on Fridays, meant many nights and weekends of working together to interpret and shift gears very quickly. So I thank the staff. Let's see. The 2021 budget, of course, was another challenge for us, but we came through that with my direction was to just try to make it break even. As we all know, any excess goes into our capital improvements fund, so we always want to be, that is the goal to transfer, and we've been very successful with that in past years. But I'm happy to say that after the board, we brought the board a break even budget, and after the board met and gave their input, we got it to a $61,000 net surplus. We continued with alternate revenue. We actually had a better year this year with alternate revenue, $56,385 versus $51,347 in 2019. I probably don't need to repeat this again, but I was in constant communication with our general counsel, labor attorney, legal counsel for IPD, any lawyers that had information we talked to, Paderma. So there was a lot of time spent on that. What else did I want to point out? Down to planning and organizing, it's on page 5. The completion of the 2020 budget and tax levy process was done with a 0% tax increase, and of course we did that again for the 2021 budget. You will notice that the 2021 budget, and of course the board passed this budget, that for the first time in several years, our revenue from taxes is slightly higher from the user fees. This is an anomaly for us. Certainly more typical in a lot of park districts, but it's been, it's this board's philosophy, and it's been the direction with the 0% tax increase that we bring in more from fees and charges than taxes. But hopefully I'm optimistic by the end of the year that can shift a little bit back towards the way that we're usually normally used to operating. Another big initiative was, seems like a long time ago, but initiating our new attorney and firm to the district last January. So that was a big deal and a change for us this year. Of course, the addition of open space with the Forest View property was an exciting thing that happened in the fall in the midst of everything else. And then the adding of the new shelter and the accessible pathways, of course, with the grant at the Wildwood Nature Center. Wanted to just point out a few things throughout the strategic plan. The first being on the first page of the strategic plan completion report, or the first actual page of the report. Sitting there. It's under the customer core area. We were able to serve 177,277 people despite 8.5 months of on and off closures. I'd say that's a pretty good number, and that doesn't even count the number. I wish we could count the number of users in our parks. The average number of program registrations and daily fee users from 2017 to 2019 was 407,220. With our number this year of 177,277, we served 44% of the average of the past 3 years. So while it's certainly not what we're used to, I felt that that was a very good number. And that goes to the staff for trying to, at every angle, at every time we got these guidelines to figure out how can we make this work? How can we get people, outside, get them in the buildings when we can? The overall success rate of classes was 56.8%, lower, of course, than our normal, but the normal, 2019 was 78.8%. And in terms of the customer service survey, our good excellent rating was 82% compared to 84.98%. As I said, not surprising with all of the last minute changing, a lot of it out of the control of the staff. We maintained the AA plus bond rating, and we continue to receive the level A accreditation from PDERMA, and that's something that's very important at the district is the safety. The trainings, it's amazing the number of trainings that we all continue to go to. The list is endless. It's very COVID heavy, as you can as you can see, but the staff continued to get trained. A lot of the trainings were free through our state association, so we did appreciate that. If you look down at the bottom of page 4, our district turnover rate of staff was continued to be a good number, 13.8% compared to the averages of the labor market of 28 something percent and the Bureau of Labor Statistics 53.2%. And then the part time was at 19.48%. That's higher than normal, but it's still below the industry standard or the industry average, I should say. Many of our committees, as you can see as you read through the report, were not able to complete a lot of their initiatives due to focusing on COVID. Customer Service Committee, the Safety Committee, and the Sustainability Committee in particular. And the last thing I wanted to point out is our lawn care practices report. Of our 21 parks, we had natural fertilizer utilized at 19 of our 21, and then 2 had no applications. In terms of the tree inventory, we completed the 2020 tree inventory update that is attached, and that will be very useful in the future. And the next step will be doing a tree plan from there. Other notable initiatives included converting 2 of our facilities to LED lighting. That was South Park Rec Center and Centennial Activity Center. We planted 40 trees, and then we also offered nature-based adult workshop programs. So those are some of the initiatives in the sustainability report. So with that, I would like to share a short but 4-minute video, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions on any of this information. So please enjoy. any questions anybody might have on my report or the video or anything else.
I have a question. Did you talk to my daughter and she tell you how much I cry at stupid things like these videos?
No, but
Wanna make
yes,
sure.
you're not the only one that subscribed to that video. No questions?
Any questions from the commissioners?
This might be an obvious answer. Was this your hardest year as an executive director?
I had that in the beginning of my report, but I decided, I was going to try to be positive. But yes, absolutely the most challenging, emotional, difficult year, yes, as an executive director. And I have been with the Park Ridge Park District for 10 years now as executive director this year. So, yeah.
I think it's good you've been here 10 years.
Yes.
And like
It was.
You had seasoned
It was
staff.
very helpful to have an experienced team in place that, we were able to move quickly and trust each other and, make decisions collaboratively and, down to all the managers and, just everybody jumped in and did anything they could to make it work. So, yes. But to answer your question, yes, most difficult year by far.
I just have a comment to add to that. I mean, I think even in watching the video, the expanse of the people who make up the park district is really clear to me now more than ever, in terms of even from our summer camp counselors who just kind of rolled with it, right, and made the best of it and helped kids have a good experience this summer, to the staff at the senior center. I mean, every person who's involved in our district has such passion. And I think this year it was really just shown that people had an amazing can-do attitude and know that the people we serve needed mental health outlets and recreation. And there was just incredible passion, and it's seen throughout the whole year. I know we've talked about that before, but we have a really committed staff all the way around.
Thank you. I agree. Thanks.
Commissioner Tunnel?
I think a lot goes into leadership, and I guess this is my comment followed by a quick question, but thank you for everything you did for the district. I know the reflection of a leader is apparent in everybody that works. Everybody has pride. They want to do what's best for our district. So I can't thank you enough as a board member. I appreciate everything you do. I guess my question would be, like, looking back at 2020, I know there's a lot of good things in the video that we all saw. I did like the Santa Claus. That was a great picture. But like, looking back at 2020, like, if you just had to look at one thing that you're most proud of, and I know this is a tough question, but what do you think, like, the number one thing you'll look back in 10 years and be like, I'm so proud that we did that? Like,
I mean, I would say in terms of managing and administering, we were very good at, I'm very proud that we took the time and made sure that we had, like I said, I'm like this a lot anyway, analyzing and overanalyzing, but that we took the time and to talk to gather all the data when something big came at us. The biggest thing was FFCRA, in terms of, the furloughing and, the decisions affecting employees, like I said, was the hardest thing that I've ever had to deal with. And so I think as hard as it was, when we had to make those tough decisions, we felt that we, had researched, we had talked to, like I said, the attorneys we needed to talk to, and really made the decision that was right. But we carried that through, and we had that conversation, and we got the right people involved when we needed to, and got people, okay, well, this affects April, or this affects Terry and Diane, and so we made sure that we didn't just react, that we made sure that we took the time in each stage of this, which was, I can't even tell you how many stages, but, and really feel like we did the best thing for the district by doing that. You know, a lot of people handle things differently. I'm not saying wrong, but you know, I feel like that was the best thing for us, and it has served the district the best in terms of. So I'm very proud of that. You know, on the back end. In terms of the front end, I can't pick one facility. The staff, the management team at this park district, and the supervisors, like Harmony said, the instructors, the everything, moving equipment outside for fitness. I mean, that was the instructors. You know, that was the Amy Murans and Justin. I mean, they were in there, you know, moving equipment and checking people in and making sure there's safety. So, you know, just the fact that, you know, safety has always been number one to me, and that the manuals that we came out with, and that our staff took it seriously, and really made people feel like it was a safe place to come. And so that was another thing I was proud of, and just the creative programs, the special events that we brought to people's house in the parking lots. I loved, you know, I'd love to see that. But also the outdoor ice skating classes, things that, you know, we just have never done before. So it's hard to say, but you know, that's kind of a summary. All of the classes and the programs are great.
Thank you for your leadership.
Sure. Thank you.
And I want to, echo my fellow commissioners' comments about how much we appreciate everything that you and the staff did in the most difficult year probably in Park District history. But going back, if there's something you would have done differently, what would it be?
Oh man, I would have. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's much I would have done differently. I cannot honestly think of something off the top of my head. I would have, as the board knows, I would have loved to open Centennial Pool, and I can definitely say I'm glad we didn't, because even though other park districts had done that, it was very tough getting staff, you know, for what we were even running. I know that doesn't answer your question. So maybe I wouldn't have pushed so hard on that, but I was just passionate about, you know, getting everything open. You know, I just wanted the people to have that experience as much as possible. I can't think of anything. If I think of something, I'll share.
Okay, I don't see any other questions. I'm not going to take up the time right now to echo everybody else's, but you know how I feel.
Yes, thank you.
So we'll move on really quick. Is there any new business? Hearing none.
I just want to make a comment.
Oh.
I probably could have made it during Terry's portion of the meeting, but I was really, really happy to hear that we made that original bid work on the nature classroom. So kudos.
Oh, yes, Jennifer's very glad too. She will be, you know, very involved with making sure everything goes right over there, as she always is. But yes, we were
Good
happy
work.
that it turned out that way.
I'm really glad to hear whatever magic happened behind
Right.
Well, if I can, Gail, the magic that happened is Terry and Jennifer.
Yeah.
I would have issued a written recommendation to the board to say no as a lawyer, but for the skill of those two people. Because this contractor is going to need to be monitored closely, because they're looking to make up a little bit because they're short on the money. They realize that in the bid. But you know, Terry and Jennifer have the skills to do it. We talked about their capacity and the other projects they have going. And it's the kind of thing where I've only been here a year and a couple of weeks, but I've already, you know, come to learn about Terry's particular management skills. So it's a tribute to them that you're saving $30,000, because without them, I would have been a little more insistent that we not do it.
Wow.
Yeah, I agree with her.
Well, I hope we don't make them miserable, Jennifer.
Okay. So I am going to, I move to adjourn to closed session for the purpose to discuss the Executive Director's 2020 Performance Review and Compensation 2C1. we will reconvene to open session to take action on the executive director's performance review and compensation.
I second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Leach, Commissioner O'Donnell, Commissioner Tunnell,
Yes.
Commissioner Grau,
Yes.
Commissioner Harrington,
Yes.
Commissioner Leduc,
Yes.
Commissioner Coyne.
Aye. See you on the other side.
Yes.
Okay, I am reconvening the regular board meeting. It is 8:23 p.m. All that we're going to discuss at the rest of this is the executive director's performance review, and I'm going to kind of lead that discussion and basically say, Gail, we think you're great. We think you did wonderful work in very trying conditions over the last year. I'm pretty sure that the board would be unanimous in saying that we could not have had a better executive director of parks. Anybody that was on this list that you gave us a comparable thing. So you certainly earned every dollar of your salary last year. And we also know the circumstances are difficult this year. And so I am going to just go, we can go around the table here figuratively if anybody wants to add any comments, but in deference to time, we all think that you're just wonderful and have done a great job, and that's why the closed session was so short, because everybody was in agreement. So if there aren't any comments from other commissioners at this time, I'm going to read a motion. Commissioner Leach.
Yeah, I just want to echo, sometimes people don't understand the process behind the scenes, and as 7 board commissioners have evaluated your performance again this year. Again, high marks, as the president has mentioned, and specifically, and I don't know how publicly it's shared, your strategic plan outcomes, the behaviors you led with your teams, were just outstanding during the crisis. So again, thank you, Gail. It's a pleasure working with you.
Thank you very much.
Is there anything else? Hearing none, then I'm going to move to increase the executive director's salary effective July 1, 2021, with a 3% merit increase. This action will be formally ratified in an actual board meeting with physical presence at a later date.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion?
I don't know if I should stop you at this point because everything's been so positive, but I did want to take the opportunity, as I have before, to thank the board. And, you know, it means so much, your support, especially this year during this, this pandemic, and to know that you had my back and the staff, you trusted the staff, and, you were with us the whole way through in terms of, understanding the challenges. And I know at first there was a little rough spot in terms of what, because we were all, it was really nerve wracking, and we were all nervous about what was to come. But I think that's what made it all work so well. And so I can't thank the board enough, and I'm proud to lead this park district. So thank you.
Let's call the roll.
Commissioner Grau,
Yes.
Commissioner Harrington,
Double yes.
Commissioner Leduc,
Yes.
Commissioner Leach,
Double yes, too.
Commissioner O'Donnell, Commissioner Tunnell,
Triple yes.
and Commissioner Coyne.
Absolutely. Motion carries. And I move to adjourn the meeting of the Board of Park Commissioners.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Grau,
Yes.
Commissioner Harrington,
Yes.
Commissioner Leduc,
Yes.
Commissioner Leach,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Donnell, Commissioner Tunnel,
Yes.
Commissioner Coyne.
Aye. We stand adjourned.
Bye.